Tomorrow night, we have a PLE called Backlash. And on the eve of Backlash, we had a funeral. Yes, we had a funeral here tonight on SmackDown. But you see, the funeral that you think we had, you see, you would be wrong. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that tonight we had a funeral for the Gingerbread Man. No, that's not what tonight was. Tonight we had a funeral for SmackDown. That's what we had a funeral for. Because this show is dead. It's been dead for a while. You tune into the reviews every week. You know how the state of SmackDown has been really for most of the year so far. Somehow they continue to find ways to make the show worse and worse and worse. And I sit here waiting for things to improve. I keep naively believing that somehow they can crawl out of this hole that they have dug for themselves and somehow find a way to make this show watchable from week to week. And yet I keep sitting here expecting different results and getting the same outcome each and every time. We had a show tonight that was built around the funeral of the Gingerbread Man. Now, there are aspects of this storyline that I have found semi-humorous. I have a sense of humor, just like anybody else does. I can enjoy fun. I'm not a humorless schmuck. Nothing wrong with having a little sports entertainment mixed into my wrestling product. That's fine. But you see, when I sit here and I watch a 3-hour television show that is built around this stupid storyline, when we have segments coming in and out of every commercial break with various AI images of the Gingerbread Man interjected into various classic moments in WWE history, we have still shots and videos of the Gingerbread Man over the years from conception to death, and the entire program is built around this as the key story. They closed the show tonight. They actually closed the show tonight. The final SmackDown before Backlash with a funeral for the Gingerbread Man. And I had a moment tonight that I have not had in a very long time watching a WWE show. I'm sitting here watching this show and I thought to myself, what have I done with my life? It was this weird out-of-body experience that I had as I was sitting here watching this show going, what have I done with my life that I have found myself here sitting on a Friday night watching this? This is my life. This is what I am doing. This is how I'm spending my Friday night. What am I watching? What have I done? Where did I go wrong? What did I do in a previous life that has led me to this spot? I don't know. I have no answers. I do know that at one point during the show tonight, there was a Danhausen segment where he was in the back with all of his, vials of liquid substances, a little time machine it looked like, or a cloning machine. I don't know what the fuck it was. It's Danhausen. So of course it's going to be Looney Tunes off the wall, and that's okay. I like Danhausen. But then they went from Danhausen to more of the Gingerbread Man. And again, I had this moment, this flash, where I said to myself, am I dreaming? Did I have a stroke? What am I watching? What? What is going on here? I had no answers. I was mystified. They closed the show with this tonight. Sami Zayn was shooting from the hip when he said in that closing segment, the main event of SmackDown used to mean something. It don't mean nothing no more. After how many solo Sikoa MFT main events, we should have already realized that. But when I saw a casket in the ring with the Gingerbread Man, that was what just really set it over the top for me. That is what tonight's show was built around. That is the bulk of what we are going to be discussing tonight. The Gingerbread Man, who actually turned out to be alive all along. It was Lil Yachty in the costume. I do get emotional at funerals, so you'll have to bear with me. You know, what used to be the highlight of SmackDown every week? Talk about the U.S. title open challenges. I know we talk a lot about open challenges, the Obafemi open challenge. Too many open challenges. But you know my thoughts on the United States Championship open challenge. It was the highlight of SmackDown on most weeks. I looked forward to seeing who Sami Zayn was going to defend the U.S. title against. I looked forward to seeing who Ilya Dragunov. Who? Who's that? Oh, I don't blame you if you forgot who it was. But Ilya Dragunov used to be on SmackDown. He used to be the United States champion. And he was having killer matches every single week. And then it was Carmelo Hayes. And I said, man, I know this has to come to an end at some point, but really, I hope they can keep this going for as long as possible, because if you ever take the U.S. title open challenge away from this show, what does SmackDown look like? I give you Exhibit A. We didn't know how good we had it. What happened, by the way, to Carmelo Hayes? What happened to Ilya Dragunov? Remember that story they were telling where he was trying to find himself? Whatever happened to that? They've dropped off the face of the earth. No, instead what we have now are the MFTs in multiple segments on this show every single week. Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Talla Tonga. At least 3 or 4 segments on this show every single week. And when they don't get the main event, we get what we got tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, SmackDown is dead. They've added new faces to the show, which is something I'm glad to see. It's going to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but boy, it's going to suck trying to get there. Ricky Saints is coming out getting the same reactions that Julia gets every single week. But we've got Ricky Saints. We've got Fatal Influence. Big fan of Fatal Influence. We've got Royce Keys. Blake Monroe is coming. There are reasons for hope. There's new blood on SmackDown. Yet the show feels as dead as it has ever felt. Why is that? Why is that? Cody Rhodes and Gunther, a match I'm looking forward to. Not official yet, but it looks like we're going to be getting it in Italy at the end of the month. I'm trying to cling to some of the positives on this show. That's one of them. And I would also tell you what I told everybody on TNT on Tuesday night when I reminded everybody that if Gunther ends up on SmackDown, that would officially put him on the same brand with Ilya Dragunov. But at this rate, I'm not sure we're ever going to see him again on this television show. So maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up. I don't know. I don't know what to say. This is your Friday night SmackDown review. It is Friday night, May 8th, 2026. Here lies a once exciting, interesting television program that I've held out hope would one day find that spark that's been missing. And I feel like that spark has been extinguished. Perhaps I should stop hoping and just start accepting reality for what it is. But I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm too naive to do that. Thank you for joining me here on a Friday night. We shall get through this funeral together tonight. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Super chats are open. I'm sure some of you have some very interesting things to say about this SmackDown show here tonight. So get those messages on in. Be reading all of your messages as they come in. As we do every week here on this show, we are going to spin the wheel. Yeah, I should have added some new options to the wheel. Solomonster takes a shot of this, takes a shot of that. I'm in a terrible mood here because for a show like this, you would think I would need a stiff drink. I ain't got no drink. I got my H2O here. I feel like that this show would be a little easier to get through actually if there was some of that chemical assistance here, but unfortunately we don't have any of that tonight. What a terrible television show. I mean, let's just call a spade here. SmackDown is Attention to the sicko in row 4. Look, I know you're excited to be at Dynamite tonight. It's your first show, but you can't be pulling that thing out. Okay, you got to put that away.
Fuck Triple H.
And don't think I didn't see that sign that you brought that said, I came to see AEW. That's sick. Thank you. Hey, well now, thank you for the $40. It's rare that we have a sicko sighting on a Friday night. Thank you, brother. Yeah, SmackDown is supposed to move back to 2 hours sometime within the next 6 weeks or so. Not sure it's going to get better as far as the creative, but at least we'll have an hour less of this shit to sit through for the next 6 months. So that's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to that. Spin the wheel here. See how many likes we need for Be the Booker tonight. 450. That is the goal. We're at 345 already. I think that should be easily attainable. Let's get into this SmackDown garbage here. God, this show fucking sucks. How did this show get so bad? It's unbelievable with the talent they have. How is that possible? We had an in memoriam graphic at the beginning of the show. I was wondering if they were going to do this for Ted Turner, who passed away this week. I was pleasantly surprised to see them pay tribute in graphic form here, really pay tribute in any way, shape, or form to Ted Turner, because we know 5 years ago this never would have happened. So good on them for at least putting a graphic up. Unfortunately, it came on a show where we had a mock funeral for the Gingerbread Man. But hey, timing couldn't be helped. I mean, he died this week, so it is what it is. But anyway, good on them for putting that up.
Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on me. Hey, I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
And that was Paul Hamilton, who I will have you know, he ain't no gingerbread man. He's just the man. On behalf of all your supporters, for all your pain and suffering, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. They showed a group of wrestlers. Now, this is, I said from the beginning of this show, it was all about the funeral. So we see a group of wrestlers and other people who I don't know if they were extras from the Performance Center. They may not even have been wrestlers. I didn't recognize most of them. They were all gathered in a room backstage, along with Nick Aldis, in front of a casket, getting ready for the funeral of the Gingerbread Man. One of the wrestlers was Rey Fenix. So we haven't seen Rey Fenix on this television program in many months. And his first appearance back on TV, and he is one of the mourners in the funeral of the Gingerbread Man. Actually, technically, this wasn't the funeral of the Gingerbread Man. This was the viewing. It's the first time we've seen him in months on this show. They may as well hold a funeral for his career tonight, because his career is basically over anyway. Jacob Fatu, though, was out to the ring 24 hours away from his World Heavyweight Championship match, the biggest match of his career, coming up at Backlash tomorrow night against Roman Reigns. Fatu said that tomorrow night he wasn't fighting Roman for the championship, he was taking the championship from him. Ever since he and Roman were young, all anybody has seen in Roman has been the future. Meanwhile, for him, nobody saw anything in Fatu. Fatu said people wanted him to fall back and fall in line, which he refused to do. He talked about how when Roman was born, he was born with opportunity. And Jacob, when he was born with doubt. So the Usos were out to interrupt. Jimmy said that he and Jay were not out to change Fatu's mind. Really, because that's all they've been trying to fucking do, is change his mind. Part of him was rooting for Fatu, but the other part of him was looking out for him. And then Jay interrupted, and he said that, what was going to happen tomorrow was that the tribal chief was going to beat Fatu's ass. He said he knew how it would go at Backlash because he's lived it. Roman is going to break Fatu down emotionally and physically, right in front of his family. Jimmy said that if Fatu loses, and Jay said when he loses, Fatu and his entire family will need to acknowledge Roman Reigns. Fatu said he ain't going to lose. He took issue with Jay talking about him losing to Roman and then pointed out that Jay never beat Roman. Fatu said there's no losing or acknowledging. To Fatu, this was more than just a main event. It was for his family. And the only thing that Fatu's family would be seeing tomorrow was him becoming the new World Heavyweight Champion. And he said that he was ready to put it all on the line, but he wondered if Roman was ready to die for it. And he went to go leave, but he stopped and he said he had one last thing to share with the Usos. Said that if they even think of interfering in his match tomorrow night, he said, I swear to God, I will burn this whole goddamn family tree down. And they censored it, but that's what he said. And everybody popped for the closing line, and off he went. So there was some good fire there from Fatu. He's a good promo, especially when he gets really serious and focused and isn't just like so many other people on the show just spitting out catchphrase after catchphrase after catchphrase. I mean, some people, that's all they are. It's just a catchphrase. But here, it's about family. This is personal to him. He's doing this to try to put food on a table and put his kids in good schools and drive the nice cars and all of this stuff. I think his work has been very solid on the mic. And they continue to tease some sort of involvement by the Usos in this match, even though Fatu shut it down there and said, look, you better not come out. I don't want to see you out there during my match, which is something that he would say to throw everybody off if he was in cahoots with the Usos. I'm just saying. Because again, there's been multiple segments, including tonight, by the way, where they have been in the same, either same building or the same ring, and they have not come to physicality of any kind. It's like 3 weeks in a row now. They have not laid a finger on each other. Even when Roman was in peril on Raw, the Usos were nowhere to be found. But even still, I would be surprised if we don't see the Usos involved here in some way tomorrow night. I do have to say, all of this fall in line with the tribal chief shit, this shit's wearing thin. I mean, it's been 6 years of this. It's been 6 years of this. And we're still doing the thing where the Usos are falling in line, and it's like, you'll have to acknowledge the tribal. Like, how many fucking years of this shit are we going to sit through before we move on? Or really evolve it into something different? I mean, even after 5-6 years, whatever it was, people got sick of Hogan from his peak. That peak run that he had. Shit gets old after a while. So after a recap of Gunther's attack on Cody Rhodes last week, Kathy Kelly interviewed Nick Aldis. Aldis pointed out that Gunther's actions last week were unacceptable and he would speak with him about it. He also confirmed that Gunther was part of the Raw roster for now. We'll come back to that later. Ricky Saints interrupted. And Speaking of interruptions. Venom Kitetsu, thank you. $25 Brie mode. You know, Brie Bella and Paige were on the show tonight, and we'll get to their segment a little bit later on, but apparently Paige got hurt. Not injured, but I think she got a wound on her head. Apparently needed stitches to close it. I mean, they were in the ring with Nia Jax and Lash Legends, so. Anyway, Ricky Saints shows up. And he complained about the show. No. He complained about being stuck fighting QB4 after he fought QB1 last week. He had that match with Cody Rhodes. So Matt Cardona walked in, Mr. QB4 himself, and he said that he was going to teach Rookie Saints. I'll just start calling him that. He's going to teach Rookie Saints a lesson in respect later tonight. After a break in the back, Jacob Fatu, he was speaking with Nick Aldis. They parted ways. And as Fatu was walking off, second week in a row now, he bumped into Royce Keys. Because they go way back. They're good friends. So for the second time, they bump into each other. And Keys gives him a little pep talk about how you're going to go out there and do the thing tomorrow night. You're going to win that World Heavyweight Championship. People like you and me, we take it. We take what we want. You got this. You know, Jelly Roll is not around anymore, so we need somebody else to give the motivational speeches on this show. Jelly Roll was very good at that. So that's what Royce Keys was doing here for Jacob Fatu. After Fatu left, Keys was walking, and again he ran into Solo Sikoa. And Keys said that he should beat the brakes off his ass for what happened last week. Solo told him, hey, calm down. He reminded him that there's still room in his family. But he needed an answer, and he told him time was running out. You know, there's not much of a family left. You know, 2 of the members were fired. He's got 40% less family now every single week he shows up here on TV. You know, it's subtle, but the feeling I came away with here watching this was, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you know, we're all trying to figure out what this finish is going to be tomorrow night, because I don't see Roman Reigns losing the World Heavyweight Championship. So are we really just going to get a straight wrestling match where he hits him with like 3 spears and pins him? It took 3 spears to pin Jacob Fatu, and just clean as a whistle, just beats Jacob and that's it? Yeah, and then what? Jacob falls in line, he acknowledges him. Are we looking at that? Or are we looking at, again, the Usos getting involved, someone getting involved? I'm just saying, Royce Keys has been awfully chummy with Jacob Fatu now over the last couple of weeks. Does he factor into this in some way? Because I'm just like an abused wrestling fan here. So when this segment was over, I was thinking, oh, he's not gonna turn on Jacob, is he? Is he gonna cost Jacob the World Heavyweight Championship? I can't rule it out. I don't think it could be ruled out. The way he was gassing Fatu up, man, really talking him up. You got this. People like you and me, we take what we want. Wouldn't surprise me. Tiffany Stratton against Kiana James for the Women's United States Championship. Kiana targeted Tiffany's leg for a good chunk of the match here. Even got a single leg crab applied at one point. This did not stop Tiffany, however, immediately after this, from hitting all of her signature moves. Like nothing had happened. It's like, okay, sure. I don't know what the point of working over the leg is if you're not going to sell the leg. But then again, this is kind of an epidemic problem in wrestling. This is not limited to just Tiffany Stratton here in this match. So there was a point where the referee's back was turned. Julia, who was outside the ring in Kiana's corner, at one point refused to attack Tiffany. Even though the referee's attention was diverted and she could have gotten in a cheap shot, she didn't do it. And Kiana and her, they were talking, maybe arguing a little bit. But there was a moment later on where Julia got up on the apron. And it was at a moment, I think, where Tiffany was on offense. I think she was in control. But then the tide turned, and Kiana, I think, got a roll-up on her But because Julia was on the apron distracting the referee wasn't there to count. So it actually worked against her friend, her business associate, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. And in the end, Tiffany hit the rolling senton. She got the prettiest moonsault ever, and she retained the championship. So they're continuing to build the split between Julia and Kiana. This should have happened a long time ago. This pairing just doesn't work. It was pretty apparent after the first few months it was not working. I don't know why they've kept them together for this long. I really don't. But now they're really leaning heavily into an imminent split between them. I do still worry about Julia's future here on this show. It just feels like she doesn't have much of one. It feels to me like the real upside here is for Kiana. I know Kiana is also very friendly with Charlotte Flair. I could see that being a program, a match one day. I think they're high on Kiana. I don't think that I don't want to say they've soured on her, but you just watch the shows week to week and you could just tell, like, they're not terribly excited about Julia. You could just tell. Just watch the television shows. You can watch the shows and know who they're excited over and who they're not. Or who they tried with and they feel like, well, this didn't work. So we got bored and now we moved on. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Julia falls into that category. Is she going to get another opportunity? Are they going to maybe move her to Raw at some point? Give her some fresh opponents to work with and maybe pair her up with somebody else? Maybe. Maybe that would help because whatever they're doing with her right now on SmackDown, it ain't working. And it just feels to me like every week she becomes less and less and less valuable, a commodity on this show. At a time when people are being cut, that's not a good place to be. Backstage at the viewing of the Gingerbread Man, Sami Zayn, he could not believe this clown show that he was seeing. And he also felt like this was a dig at him. And people are crying and getting all emotional. And so he starts venting to Nick Aldis. R-Truth sneaks up behind Sami, did some comedy, told Sami the Gingerbread Man was very proud of him and used to talk about him all the time. Truth's tag team partner, his tag team championship partner. Don't forget, they're the tag team champions in a dead division. Damian Priest, one-on-one with Talla Tonga. Priest attacked him right away, right at the bell. Sent him out to the floor. He tried some sort of leap from the apron, and I don't know what the hell happened here. It looked like maybe Talla Tonga blocked it or tried to block it, but maybe he didn't. I don't fucking know. It looked terrible, whatever it was. Priest popped right back up. He got up in Solo Sikoa's face because Solo was on the outside. Priest tried to go for a spin kick. Talla, though, grabbed him mid-kick and threw him into the ring post and then picked him up, slammed him on top of the announce desk. And that took us into a commercial break. And during the commercial break, I'm watching the action, and this crowd is library silent. Like if somebody was to make a noise, some old lady in the crowd would stand up with her bifocals and go, shh. Remember the show Silent Library? Was that on MTV? That's what this was. So late in the match, Priest took the big guy down with the diving clothesline. Priest tried to, there was something else that he tried in here, but he pulls down the straps. So he and Royce Keys, by the way, are doing the same gimmick now on the show where the straps come down. In WWE for a period of time when Kurt Angle was doing it, that was Kurt Angle's thing. I don't think there was anybody else on the roster at that time who was pulling the straps down, right? I mean, the straps coming down has been a thing in wrestling for decades, but usually it was like a Lawler thing or, you usually don't have multiple people on the same show doing it. Now we have two. But he pulls the straps down. He's signaling for the South of Heaven chokeslam. Tama Tonga hits ringside to cause the distraction when R-Truth's music hits shortly thereafter. And he comes out, he attacks Solo and Tama Tonga. Soon, though, he was overwhelmed until Priest came over to stop a Samoan spike attempt, and then he shoves Solo into Tama. Now, that's not going to be good because there have been issues between Solo and Tama now that have been brewing for many weeks. Yeah, Silent Library, didn't they have a wrestling episode? I remember Ziggler being on there. I think they had one episode that had a bunch of wrestlers on it. And I know for a fact, at least in the episode I'm thinking of, that Ziggler was on there. So anyway, he shoves Solo into Tama. Tonga then attacks Priest on the floor. They head into the ring, and Talla hits a chokeslam for the win. After the match is over, the MFTs, or what's left of the MFTs, surrounded Priest before Royce Keys ran out to make the save. MFTs backed off, seemingly on the orders of Solo Sikoa, who of course is trying to recruit this man, so the last thing they want to do is attack him, so they backed away. This is an observation that I have made every week, basically, for a while now. I don't always vocalize it, but it really hit me tonight just watching this show. Damian Priest has never been less interesting to me than he is right now at this moment. Like, to me, this is his low point in WWE. And this is a man who has won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. Super over at one point as part of the Judgment Day. Even at the moment, he's one half of the tag team champions, which means absolutely nothing, of course, because they don't place a premium on tag team wrestling in this company anymore. He has never been less interesting than he is right now. And it's sad. It's sad to see the fall off there with him in terms of his importance to the show. But it's just clear as day when you watch these shows every single week. And I'm not sure what to do to remedy that. I don't know. I don't know what the best course of action is. I just know that what they have him doing now is not going to do anything to change that. Now, backstage, Danhausen was sitting there. He had an empty sign-up sheet for anybody interested in being his tag team partner at Backlash. Miz and Kit Wilson showed up. Wilson said that Danhausen was too toxic to even have a partner. Danhausen said that he had friends. He mentioned Papa Shango. And then I think he said Bob the catering guy. Did I hear him right? I believe he said Bob the catering guy. He's got a lot of friends. So Wilson pointed a mirror in Danhausen's direction because he had a mirror with him. He was posing in it before looking at himself. So now he put the mirror in the direction of Danhausen and said that this is the only person who would ever team up with you, being Danhausen himself. So Danhausen, upon seeing his reflection in the mirror, it's like he has a eureka moment where the light bulb goes off. He's got an idea. And he gets up all excited and he leaves. Now, if you did not see it today, there was a report going around that I believe it is attributed, to Brian Alvarez, that the belief, not that this is any sort of confirmation, but the belief is that Jelly Roll will likely be the tag team partner for Danhausen tomorrow night. I know there's a lot of people who mention CM Punk. I don't know where they're getting this from, other than the fact that we know the two of them were friends in real life. Punk is probably the one who went to bat for Danhausen, helped get him into the company in the first place. But beyond that, I don't know what would make people think that this is the way they're going to bring back CM Punk, is to be Danhausen's tag team partner. And I can't sit here and say 100% for sure that it won't be CM Punk, but pretty sure it ain't going to be CM Punk. And I said this the other night. If you want to look at it from the perspective of who can we use from SmackDown who could potentially benefit from being in a PLE match. There's only so many PLE. I can't even believe this is getting a PLE match to begin with. But it is. Over many other matches that they could be doing on this show. Not a single women's championship match on the show, by the way. So who could benefit from being in a spot like this? And the name I came to is Royce Keys. Now, it's probably not going to be him because he's involved in some other stuff going on right now on the show. But my thought process on it was not that we're trying to do some sort of comedy duo here with Royce Keys and Danhausen, but he gets an ass kicker to come in there when Miz and Kit Wilson are figuring this guy ain't going to be able to find anybody. And then Royce Keys shows up and he gets a match on the Backlash card. He gets to play babyface as Danhausen's partner for one night, and he gets to whoop some ass. Right? That's it. There you go. That's my thought process on it. But I did mention the other night on TNT, I go, it will probably be Jelly Roll. And if you think about it, before WrestleMania and before he got involved with the Pat McAfee stuff, Jelly Roll wrestled on SmackDown. He had a match with Kit Wilson. He was involved in this until he wasn't. Then they had him involved in something much bigger. Add to that the fact that originally they were going to do a tag team match on this show where it was going to be Cody Rhodes and Jelly Roll against Randy Orton and Pat McAfee until Pat McAfee spared us all and said, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. Goodbye. My job here is done. My planet needs me. And he beamed himself away. So he was probably going to be on this show anyway. Of course it would be Jelly Roll. I'll be very surprised if it turns out to be anybody other than Jelly Roll in that spot. But that's the update on his tag team partner for tomorrow night. Now, they showed still shots as well as some video of the Gingerbread Man, and they did this throughout the night, in attendance at various classic WWE events over the years, including the moment of Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. And they cut to the crowd, and there's the AI-generated Gingerbread Man in his Hogan gear celebrating the body slam. Then they showed him in the crowd the night on Raw that Stone Cold got arrested after driving the Zamboni down to the ring. There he was in the aisle in the front row is the Gingerbread Man. And then John Cena, when he did the crowd dive at WrestleMania 21 after he won his first WWE Championship. And the crowd caught him. And there's the Gingerbread Man in his Chain Gang jersey, standing next to John Cena. I'm watching this and I'm just thinking, this is mildly amusing. Okay, right? That was my first thought when I saw some of these images until we got more and more and more and more and more and more throughout the entire night. And then I just came to the conclusion that this is some of the dumbest shit that I've seen all year. Absolute dumbest shit that I've seen all year. So after this, they cut to Nick Aldis meeting with Paul Heyman backstage. And Gunther also showed up. And Nick Aldis had a contract binder. Heyman wanted to make sure everything was in working order, and Aldis was like, it's all here. And so he has the contract binder, and he presents it to Gunther, and he welcomes him to SmackDown. So it sounds like Gunther is now officially on the blue brand. And at that moment, we hear, bum, bum, the beginning of Cody's music. Cody Rhodes out in the arena is making his way out to the ring. And Gunther does not like this. And he says, what is this? This is eating into my time. This is supposed to be my time. And he said, I'm not going to do business like this. And he hands the contract binder back and he walks out. So I guess the deal is off then. So much for him coming to SmackDown. I guess the deal is off. At that moment, we're supposed to, I guess, take this as perhaps the deal has fallen apart. Paul Heyman takes the contract, and he says, I'll handle this. And off he goes. But as I mentioned, Cody was on his way to the ring, and now he's in the ring and in a familiar place, because tonight they were in Jacksonville. I think Cody's got a little bit of history there in Jacksonville, Florida. So, Jacksonville, what do you want to talk about? He starts off talking about how Gunther put him to sleep last week, as SmackDown does to me every single week. Last week, though, it was Gunther putting Cody to sleep. And he says that was a sign. He took that as a sign that he must want a shot at the WWE Championship. And with that in mind, Cody called him out. He didn't get Gunther, though. He got Paul Heyman. Heyman came out, contract in hand. And he said, this is a contract for a WWE Championship match. And Cody wanted to know, so are you the advocate now for Gunther? Are you his new advocate? And he goes, no, I'm not his advocate, but I owed him a favor. And so basically this is him cashing in on that favor. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what a waste of a favor. Because even Cody here was like, hey, let's get him out of here and we'll have a little rumble here in Jacksonville. Like, he was ready to throw down and do the match tonight. This is Cody's whole shtick since he won at WrestleMania and held on to the championship, which is, I'm not hard to find, but I'm hard to beat. He said it like 3 times tonight. I'm not hard to find, but I'm hard to beat. So what did he need to use Heyman for to get a title shot against Cody, right? The only way it makes sense is if the actual favor wasn't the title match, it was Heyman getting him on SmackDown. That's why I said that last week. If the favor itself is getting him a championship match, it makes no sense. It's a waste. You didn't have to go to Paul Heyman. You just show up on SmackDown like every other fucking person from Monday Night Raw who doesn't need a permission slip to show up on this show. Just show up and say, hey, Cody, you're a bitch. I want a shot at your belt. What do you think Cody's going to do? You pull his Punk card. You think he's going to say no? You didn't need Paul Heyman for that. What a waste of a favor. But Heyman said, I'm not Gunther's advocate. He said that, I'm also, though, a huge fan of yours. And he asked for Cody's permission to get into the ring. He goes, this contract is for a title match, but this contract is not for Jacksonville. And the crowd booed that. They didn't like that. He goes, it wasn't even for the United States, which drew loud USA chants. No, should Cody accept the challenge, this battle will take place in Turin at Clash in Italy. Heyman handed Cody the contract folder, said that if you want Gunther's name on it, you're going to have to get it yourself. My job here is done. And he went to go leave, and Cody said, you know, Brock Lesnar retired on you. Roman Reigns wants nothing to do with you. CM Punk just kind of discarded you. Question whether Heyman was all out of options. And Heyman said, I'm not the one running out of options. Sooner or later, they all need the wise man. And he exited the ring. He made his way probably halfway down the aisle before Gunther, as last week, once again snuck in through the crowd, but this time Cody was expecting him. So as soon as he slid into the ring, Cody went to work on him, but he got Cody in the sleeper. But Cody was able to get out of the predicament, ended up knocking Gunther out of the ring. And he is on the mic and he is shouting at Gunther, I don't sweat you. I don't sweat you. Said it doesn't matter if you beat Goldberg and AJ Styles and the greatest of all time. Says, I'm easy to find, hard to beat. Got to get that new catchphrase over. So again, like I said, the favor, it pretty much went the way I expected it to go. I like to think of it more as, okay, my favor to you is putting in a good word with Nick Aldis and getting you transferred over from one brand to the other. The whole thing is silly, though. The whole thing is very dumb because they have not, and this is what happens, right? When you think of it creatively, if we were in an environment right now where these things were more well taken care of when it comes to letting people bounce back and forth between brands, or allowing Cody to just go out there and say, hey, if you want a title shot, come find me. I'll give you a title shot. Hey, the Candyman over there in the fucking, crowd, or the popcorn vendor. You want a title match? Hey, I'm easy to find, hard to beat. Hey, guy in the bathroom. Yeah, Mr. Janitor. I'm easy to find, hard to beat. Like, okay. But if they took greater care of their creative, then something like this could work, where Paul Heyman would have to pull some strings. I know a few people, and I'm going to get you a title match, or I'm going to get you moved over from one brand to the other. But because they don't give a shit, they don't take it seriously, because in their mind, it doesn't matter. It's just wrestling, right? Only the nerds and the dweebs and the IWC, only they give a shit about rules and that kind of nerd shit. The average fan, they don't care, so we don't care. That's their attitude about everything. And so because of that, it's like this favor is fucking stupid. It's fucking dumb. I like the idea, though, of Gunther being moved to SmackDown, because what was left for him to do on Raw? If he's not going after Roman Reigns, you want to be honest, you want some real talk here? Let's do some real talk. We have the Obafemi Open Challenge, right? Which is actively going on now on Monday nights. I came out last week and I said, you know what? I don't hate this idea. It's not a terrible idea. What's terrible is the overabundance of open challenges that we have in wrestling and in WWE. But the idea of him doing an open challenge and getting maybe a few fun matches on TV. He had a fun match with Otis on Monday, right? But you can't have him going out there wrestling Otis every single week, because Otis is not someone who is focused on. Otis is not someone that the fans are expecting you to go in there and lose to. So how many weeks are they going to drag the open challenge out for? It's going to get old. They might be able to get to the end of next month, and if they do King of the Ring, Obafemi should win King of the Ring, right? I've said this multiple times now. But in a perfect world, if you're not going to immediately put the World Heavyweight Championship on this guy, right? What is the end game of the open challenges? There's only one name that really makes sense. If you're not going with Oba and Roman yet, the only name that makes sense at the end of all of this is Gunther. Because Gunther is the final boss, right? As was pointed out tonight, Goldberg, Cena, AJ. This guy is unstoppable. He's the career killer, right? So now Obafemi, the hot new thing, the next big thing, runs into a brick wall in Gunther. And you do Oba and Gunther. And you have Oba beat Gunther. Because from the beginning of all of this career shit, if you were going to protect Gunther and keep him unbeaten throughout this entire period and make him dominant, right? Then in the end, whenever that may be, a year from now, whenever, you ideally would have someone new on the ascent, whether it was an Obafemi or a Braun Breaker or whoever, be the person to ultimately beat Gunther and hand him that first loss. Oba's the perfect person for that spot. That's the kind of person that should be beating Gunther at the end of all this. And I have grown to hate this career killer shit because you can only go so far with it. So honestly, the only reason to keep Gunther on Raw would be to eventually have him lose to Obafemi. And I wouldn't hold off on that for 6 months or a year. That's something I would be doing in the next few months. Then he can move on to the World Heavyweight Championship. Now he's beaten Brock. He's beaten Gunther. There's only one mountain left to climb, and that's Roman Reigns. So in a perfect world, that's how I would be using Obafemi. But outside of that, what else is there for Gunther to do on Raw? Realistically, they don't want to do him in Roman, clearly. So move him over to SmackDown. You put him in there with Cody. And also, I love the fact that he's on a brand with Ilya Dragunov. I mean, I pointed that out the other night. That's one of the other cool things about him being on SmackDown is that he and Dragunov now share the same brand. So are they actually going to do that match? I don't know. The guy's missing. He's MIA. We haven't seen Dragunov in months. I guess outside of him being in the Andre Battle Royal. Before that, it's been many, many weeks since we've seen him here on this television show. But they are now going to be on the same brand, assuming Gunther is in fact officially on SmackDown. As far as Clash in Italy, I like the match. I think if you do that match, I think you change the title on that show. I'm not really sure why you would do that match and not change the title. I'm not sure why you would move Gunther to SmackDown to have him wrestle Cody to lose to Cody for a second time. Cody's already got a win over Gunther 2 years ago. I mean, what's really accomplished by, the only thing I could think of is Randy Orton really is hurting. If Randy Orton needed a few extra weeks off and the idea is to bring Randy Orton back and pick up where you left off at WrestleMania, because boy, was that weird, having him punt kick Cody in the head, not following up on it. The only thing I can deduce from that is that Randy Orton needed some time off. Maybe they have him work with Gunther for a little bit to kill time until Randy Orton comes back. But Gunther is not the time killer. He's the career killer. That's not exactly the way I would be using Gunther. You're going to do that match, I think Gunther should win. Personally, I think Gunther should win. But I am looking forward to the match, though. Yeah, the thing about Dragunov that really kind of burns my ass, and it's the same thing with Carmelo Hayes. You take the time to try to build these guys up. They did a good job with Carmelo Hayes. It took a while. It didn't happen right away. It took a while for them to get there, but he started to really get over with the audience. And the reason he was getting over wasn't because of anything really outside of the really fun matches that he was having on TV. That's really what got him over. Same thing with Dragunov. Dragunov's a different kind of cat. Yeah, he's very intense. You know what to expect when he's in there wrestling. You're going to get a battle. And the fans were into it. So they were getting television time, and it was like, okay, this is working. This is good. They're establishing these guys in the mid-card on the shows every Friday. And then they just vanish. No injuries that we're aware of. Nothing like that. I know Mello is getting married. That's a little bit later on. We're not there yet. I can't remember if it's June or October. I want to say October. It could be June though, but we're not there yet. Because I'm trying to rack my brain. Like, why would these guys have just fallen off the face of the earth? Both of them at the same time. They were even telling a story with Dragunov where he was trying to get back his confidence and he got beat by Mello, and that was it. Like, they didn't continue or follow up on the story or anything like that. You work so hard to try to establish these guys on the show, and they start to get over or show signs of it, and then you just pull them off the show. And I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So now when they reappear, it's almost like you're starting from scratch again. That's why consistency on television is so important. They don't have to be there every week, but at least every other week, they have to show their face. They have to be doing something meaningful on these shows. And for them to just kind of drop off the face of the earth like that just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Backstage, Tonga told Solo Sikoa that Royce Keys was a problem that needed to be dealt with. Solo said he sees Keys as more of a solution. Keys would be the perfect addition to their family. And Thomas said that Keys embarrassed him in front of everybody and it doesn't sit right with him. So he said that he was going to go handle business, and he left. And Tonga tried to follow, and Solo held him back and said, if Tamba wants to go out there alone, let him find out on his own. We'll come back to this in a little bit. We had Rookie Saints against QB4, Matt Cardona. Not a great crowd response. Last week, Ricky made his debut in Tulsa, and a lot of people just didn't seem to know who he was because he went out there, and also he got one hype package on TV the week before he debuted, and that was it. So he went out there last week, and the reaction was just very lukewarm. This week in Jacksonville, which is a place where the people there should know who he is, and I would say the response really wasn't much better than it was last week. It's going to take time. But then again, I was saying that about Julia, and here we are now, how many months later, and nothing has changed. So they fought into a break. Coming out of the commercial break, Cardona was starting to build some momentum. The Broski boot connects. The fans were so invested in this match, though, that they started to chant, hey, 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 goodbye, to someone in the crowd. Obviously, somebody got ejected. There was a fight. I don't know. Something was going on in the crowd that was more interesting than this match. Saints rolled out of the ring to avoid a Rough Rider, but as he got back inside, he got dropped with one anyway. Not enough, though, to get Cardona the dub. Saints hit his Revolution DDT and then finished Cardona off with the Rochambeau. I thought that this was a decent piece of business here. They got a pretty decent amount of time. I think it was about 8.5 minutes. But it was one of those matches that felt probably 4 or 5 minutes longer than it really was. You know, couple things on this. First of all, these are the types of matches they brought Cardona back for. I know some people are going to look at this and go, man, I can't believe, that they should be doing. I had this discussion, I think, with JD a few months ago on TNT. And I said, he's exactly where you would expect him to be. I don't know why some people thought that it would be anything other than what it is. If you saw Cardona when he was out of WWE and he was doing his thing on the independent scene, nobody worked harder than that guy. And I still don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves for not only what he did to just sort of reinvent himself as an attraction and finding the success that he did as the indie god and the hardcore legend and all that stuff, but really what he did for the indies in general and the different people he worked with. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. He found a lot of success, made a very good living for himself. Do I wish that he was in a little bit of a better position than what he's in now? I do. But then if you were to ask me, well, then what would you have him doing? What championship would you have him fighting for? At the moment, none of them. He's pretty much in the spot that you would expect him to be in. He was never being brought back to be any sort of priority. He was never being brought back to be a world championship contender or anything like that. It was never going to happen. This right here is why they brought him back. So that he could go in there and he can help put other people over, new guys over. He could put other people over who they intend to push at a level higher than him. So matches like this are what I expect him to be used for when it comes to, his appearances here on these shows. But I look at Ricky Saints, who I'm a fan of. Yeah, I like Ricky. And I think it's great that he's on the main roster now, and he's, charismatic guy. I think he's a good promo, and we'll see. We'll see what his ceiling is. We'll see how far he can go. But I look at him, especially after the reaction he's gotten over the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, man, this is a guy who I think would really benefit from the old, I call it old school. It's not old school. I mean, this is one of those things that works today. But like the old school style of vignettes that build somebody up over a period of weeks before they actually make an appearance on the show. Think back, you want to go really old school. Think back to the vignettes for Mr. Perfect. Playing all the games, right? And hitting the hole-in-one and fucking horseshoes and everything else. Building up to his debut. Razor Ramon, all the vignettes of him driving through the streets of Miami, sitting at the restaurant, ripping the tablecloth off, right? Riding down the street in his car. All that stuff. You know how many weeks those vignettes ran for? Before he finally debuted on the show. And by the time they debuted on the show, you knew who they were. You knew enough about them to know whether you should boo them or cheer them, whether you should like them or hate them. You had built up their character. It's about character building. They're doing it to some degree now with Blake Monroe. But those vignettes are very basic and vanilla and boring. But that is the sort of thing I'm talking about here. Ricky Saints would have benefited from that. Imagine if they had 6 weeks worth of vignettes. Like creative vignettes of Ricky Saints doing something that you would expect Ricky Saints to be doing before he ever set foot in a ring on SmackDown. They called so many people up recently, and a lot of them were called up the exact same way. Think about this, right? Think about this. Obafemi is kind of a special case because I think Obafemi, everybody knows Obafemi. I mean, the sky's the limit for him. He's going to be the guy or one of the guys for them. He debuted in a big spot, right? He came out and accepted Brock Lesnar's open challenge to a WrestleMania match and then went in there and beat him, right? He's not like most other people that get called up. But then you have like Sol Ruca, her first night in, shows up and confronts the women's world champion. Just shows up. Ricky Saints, last week, shows up, interrupts the WWE champion. Fatal Influence, right? Think of all the people recently that have been called up. And many of them debuted the same way. This is where I think some variety would really help. Some people you want to save as a surprise. Some people are like an Obafemi and they're going to call out the biggest dog in the yard. And then you have other people who need that sort of vignette treatment where you want to create an excitement and an interest around their debut before it actually happens. They're not doing enough of that. Ricky would have benefited from that. It's about building characters. We don't have enough of this on the show. I'm not talking about characters like Danhausen. I just mean like it's character building. It's not enough sometimes to just throw somebody out there cold. I mean, this is why people bitch so much about when people show up in AEW. Oh, well, I don't know who this person is. How come I didn't get a video package? Yeah, well, you know what? With a guy like this, it would have helped, I think, to have 4 to 6 weeks of videos. But hopefully over time now, he'll start to build, a rapport with the fans, and the fans will become more familiar with him, and the reactions will grow. That's the hope, because right now they're not really there. I think they will be, but right now they're not there. So we got confirmation at this point in the show that Royce Keys against Tama Tonga has been made official for later tonight. Meanwhile, in the back, we're at the viewing yet again for the Gingerbread Corpse, where Sami Zayn was complaining to somebody off camera who we couldn't see. I thought it was going to be like a janitor or something. It ended up being depressed Johnny Gargano, who is laying comatose. I think we're all depressed and comatose watching SmackDown. So we are all Johnny Gargano. Sammy asks if Johnny Wrestling is in there. You in there somewhere? And all of a sudden, Johnny kind of peers up at him, and he's staring at him, and Sammy gets all excited. Oh, he moved! Candice! He's calling for Candice LeRae. And Candice comes over, and he's like, he moved! And of course, now he's just laying there again, and she doesn't believe. It's like the fucking Michigan J. Frog. Like, I swear he was doing a dance with a little hat on his head and everything. You come over and look, and there he is. You're just sitting in the box. Like, what are you talking about, dude? He hasn't moved. So she doesn't believe him. So Sammy walks over to Rey Fenix. And he's very upset that Phoenix would show up for this farce because, again, he sees this entire thing as a personal shot at him. So Phoenix tells Sammy, calm down, this isn't the place. And Sammy said, you know what? You're right. And he heads out. So then after this, the women's tag team champions, Brie Bella and Paige, are shown walking in the back when a ladder suddenly falls behind them. And then as they turn around to look at it, we see Danhausen kind of zip across the screen. He sprints by. But yes, a ladder narrowly missed Paige and Brie Bella in the back. Were there any Alberto Del Dipshit sightings in Jacksonville tonight? Can he account for his whereabouts? But we had the women's tag team champions on their way down to the ring after a break for a promo. So yes, we heard Brie mode. Thankfully, they didn't fuck up the music and play it twice like they did last week. So Brie said there are lots of teams that want to prove themselves, prove that they can beat them. But as Nia Jax and Lash Legend found out last week, no one's been able to do it. And Paige addressed the Judgment Day's remarks from Monday that she and Brie were a nostalgia tour, stating that she and Brie are the best they've ever been. This is the best we've ever looked, and this is the best that we've ever been. So they were ready to show Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez anytime, any place. Fatal Influence showed up as JC Jane declared that the Judgment Day should not be the ones that Paige and Brie should worry about. She bragged about how they took out the two of them a couple of weeks ago. So after they were done spouting off, the Irresistible Forces showed up. Nia Jax and Lash Legend. And Lash got whoop that trick chance as she got into the ring, which was kind of funny. They ended up laying out Paige and Brie, and as I said, somewhere in this, Paige got hurt. Apparently she suffered some sort of bloody wound. So then Fatal Influence, they're just standing in the ring watching this. They wanted no part of it. They saw the champs get beat down. They're like, hey, we're good. We're good. So Rhea Ripley made her way down for the upcoming 6-woman tag team match and had a stare down with Lash and a stare down with Nia in the aisle. You know, for all the talk about how, wow, there's so many teams that want to prove themselves against us, we're right back to the fucking Irresistible Forces here. Like, can we not do this again? Can we not go back to this? We got more AI-generated shots inserting the Gingerbread Man into classic WWE events, including the Macho Man and Elizabeth wedding reception. See, I know everything there is to know about that. I don't remember old Gingy being there, but there he was. He was sitting there watching them eat cake. They showed Gingy in the street doing a crotch chop next to the DX Jeep. Not a tank. I think some people have convinced themselves, because they put the thing on the front, that it was an actual tank that they were riding. It's a fucking Jeep that they were riding around. And there's the Gingerbread Man in the street, kind of in the background doing a crotch chop, as they were trying to invade WCW Monday Nitro. And then they showed the Gingerbread Man in the crowd looking shocked after Brock Lesnar ended the Undertaker's undefeated streak. Very good. I said at the beginning, like the first time they were doing this, I was amused. When you do it over and over and over again throughout the entire show, it gets fucking old. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss against Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Lainey Reed. The reeks of Bruce Pritchard. All I'll say is, remember what Ronda Rousey said. As long as Bruce is there, he is an avatar for Vince McMahon. It would not at all surprise me. After a break, Lainey Reed was working over Rhea. Ripley fought out. She made the tag to Charlotte, and she was lighting up Reed and JC with chops. Came off the top rope with a double crossbody to Lainey and Jane. Double natural selection to both women. Alexa Bliss tagged in. JC's rolling encore got countered into a Sister Abigail attempt by Bliss. No dice, though. And with Ripley on the apron, Jade Cargill shows up. Or is I have to say it the way Joe Test does. Jade Cargill showed up. And she yanked Rhea off the apron. She fell down face first onto the steel steps. And that allowed the rolling encore from JC Jane to connect in the ring for the pin on Alexa Bliss to give the win to Fatal Influence. That is back-to-back pinfall wins now for JC Jane over Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, two former women's world champions. She's doing pretty well for herself so far. I would say outside of Oba Femi. He was called up a little bit earlier, but outside of Oba, she's probably doing better than anybody. So after the match, Jade got into the ring, and Alexa's on the mat in the corner. Like laying, not like sitting there, but laying on the mat. And I'm like looking and I'm typing up some notes here and nothing's happening. Jade is just standing there and the camera's very tight on her and she's talking shit to Alexa. I'm like, what the hell? Like, someone coming out? Like, what are we waiting for here? And the referee said something to Jade, communicated something to her. I don't know what she said. But it felt like they were stalling for something and waiting on someone to come out. And then finally, we see Michin and B-Fab. As Charlotte Flair is about to slide into the ring, Michin and B-Fab hit the scene to stop her from doing so. And so I guess they got held up or they missed their cue or I don't know what happened, but it looked like they were late on the call there. So they went after Charlotte. And she took care of the baddies, but she ended up eating a pump kick from Jade. So, as I mentioned, JC getting the win. Good sign for JC. I like the fact that Fatal Influence is finally up on the main roster, and I think it gives that women's division a good shot in the arm. So, thumbs up, right? That's one of the few positive things I can say about this show tonight. But, unfortunately, her win was sort of overshadowed by the stuff with Jade and the baddies when the match was over. So, yeah, she won, but it was kind of an afterthought. As far as them running back Rhea and Jade, I mean, look, this is what I expected. The only thing is, I would have expected the match to be a Backlash. And they could still add. Well, I guess it's over. It's too late now. But they could have added it tonight if they wanted to. They could have added it to the Backlash card to give us 6 matches. God forbid we should get 6 matches on this PLE. So I guess we'll get it in Italy, I guess, at the end of the month. But nobody should be surprised by this. Jade was always going to get her rematch. If it wasn't going to be a Backlash, it was going to be some other time. So before Rhea can move on to whoever that next challenger is going to be, they're going to get at least one more match, maybe more than one, but they're going to get at least one more match out of it, maybe with a stipulation. Does it move me? Not really, but look, the match they had at WrestleMania was better than I expected it to be. It's not like they went out there at WrestleMania and had a terrible match. So they'll run it back one more time, Rhea will beat her again, and then we'll move on from this. I don't know where Jade goes from here, but Rhea will move on to somebody else. Maybe Kiana. We had Royce Keys against Tama Tonga. Despite Solo Sikoa telling Talla Tonga in the back earlier in the night that they were going to let Tama go out there on his own, they came to the ring with him anyway. So, okay. After a break in the action, Keys was making a comeback. Hit a running pounce. So the straps come down. The old Damian Priest. Down come the straps. So he's feeling it. Power slam. Gets a 2 count. He picks up Tama, but it got reversed into an inverted DDT for a near fall. So he sent Tama out over the top rope with a clothesline. And he was getting ready to go after Solo Sikoa and Talla Tonga outside on the floor. But the MFTs backed away. They were like, oh, he wants to do it on his own. He wants to fight his own battles. He's going to do it himself. They weren't lifting a finger to help Tama Tonga here. So Tama attempted a dive from the top rope, and he got caught by Keys into a spine buster, and Keys picked up the win. Look, it's not a match that I would sit here and tell you have to go out of your way to see. It was fine. It was a perfectly solid match. It's just the sort of thing that they need to be doing with Royce Keys, you know? I mean, they need to be feeding him wins on this show to make him look as dominant as possible, to make him look like a killer when he's out there. He hits that spine buster. It's a great looking spine buster, very Arn Anderson-esque. And so you have him going out there power slamming and spine bustering people every single week and pulling the straps down, and he's dapping it up with Jacob Fatu, right? Rubbing elbows with one of the bigger names on the show. They're doing what they need to be doing right now at Royce Keys. You know, I still feel like he's going to be better off as a heel. I think as a heel is where he will have an opportunity to really shine on this show. It doesn't feel like it's something they are going to be leaning into anytime soon, unless I'm right about the whole vibe I was getting off the Jacob Fatu stuff. But they've really built him up like he's from this rough upbringing, and they showed the podcast clips of him with Stephanie McMahon where he's talking about his brother who got killed and tears streaming down his face. It would be kind of odd if they just suddenly turned him heel all of a sudden, but I still feel like at some point turning him heel and then letting him, you know, work with some of the baby faces on the show is going to be the way to go with him. So in the back, we are with Danhausen. Now remember, I mentioned earlier that he had this eureka moment when he saw his reflection in the mirror and he realized, I found my tag team partner. I'm going to team with myself. So he's in the back by himself. I don't know where the fuck he is, some darkened corner somewhere, and he has all of this like science equipment and these vials of various liquids. He has one of those balls, the laser balls. That's so weird that he had that too, because I literally on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, on Tuesday Night Titans, I don't remember what we were talking about, but we were having a discussion about something, and I brought up Spencer Gifts, and I brought those laser balls up. I have one of those. It's in a closet somewhere, but I actually have one of those. They're kind of cool because you put your hand on it, and the laser follows your hand around. It was like $100. So he's got one of those on display. It's like he's in a science lab, right? And then next to him is, I don't even know how to describe, some sort of chamber that he's created. And we see lights flickering on the inside of it. And it says like clone or clone machine, whatever it was. He's trying to clone himself. Remember on Family Matters back in the day when Urkel had like a similar type of contraption. And then Stefan, remember Stefan or Cal? His cool clone would emerge from it. That's basically what this thing looked like. He's got a computer. He's typing shit into the computer. Sparks start flying. Everything, shit goes haywire. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work out. But he says in 24 hours, he'll have his partner for Backlash. And then from this, we go into the gingerbread stuff later. It's like, I feel like, I don't feel like I'm watching a wrestling show. I feel like sometimes I'm watching a parody of a wrestling show. That's what SmackDown feels like sometimes. It feels like a parody of a wrestling show. After the break, Tonga's in the back, very dejected after his loss. Shinsuke Nakamura shows up. This guy he will not let shit lay. He will not leave this man alone. And Nakamura is very disappointed in Tama. Even Tama's own brother won't help him. So Tonga shows up, tells Nakamura back off. And Nakamura said something in Japanese, and I guess we'll see if we get a match between Nakamura and Tonga next week. At that point, Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett, they ran down the minuscule card that we have tomorrow for Backlash, as I will do here in a little bit. We'll go through the matches. Trick Williams is in the back, and he bumps into Nick Aldis, and Aldis says that all the arrangements are in place for the Gingerbread Man funeral, and you've got the last 15 minutes all to yourself. They're dedicating the final 15 minutes of this show to the Gingerbread Man. And then they cut to the arena. We see the casket is in the ring, and the flower arrangements are being set up because after this commercial break, we're going to have ourselves a funeral. Because nothing says stay tuned for the exciting conclusion of SmackDown as we bring a funeral to you. Oh boy. And indeed, they close the show with the Gingerbread Man. They gave him an open casket, by the way. Trick Williams got a full entrance, and it was mostly his normal entrance. I mean, he wasn't maybe being as boisterous, but it wasn't like he didn't look terribly sad. He had some sort of cup or goblet. I don't know what it was. Fucking Gangrel out there. He had some sort of goblet-looking thing in his hand. And he poured one out for the Gingerbread Man. And it's instead of, liquor, it was milk. At least I hope that's what it was. So there was a choir in the ring. Trick got a mic, and he asked all of us to bear with him. And they played some sad music. And he delivered I guess what you would call a song style, not strong style, a song style eulogy. Basically, the gist of it is he wants to know why the gingerbread had to die. I'm pretty sure it has to do with mental illness running rampant on the creative team, but that's not the sort of thing that they could really fit into those rap style lyrics. I think that's what we're dealing with here, though. So then they just went all out again with the AI shit, but like in like video or slideshow form, where we see a whole montage, a tribute to the Gingerbread Man, showing images of him from birth, all the way through the college years and his sports years. I think they showed him as an astronaut in one of them, or on the fucking moon or something. All these, like the highlights of his life. So there's a light gingerbread chant at the end of all this. Trick then calls for a moment of silence. So of course Sami Zayn comes out. He has heard enough. He has seen enough of this. So out he comes. He's sick and tired of people putting up with this nonsense. He thinks he's losing his mind because this has gone all night. Yeah, you're not the only one who feels that way. When the fans booed him when he came out, he was just incredulous. He couldn't believe it. You're booing me? You're watching all of this shit and you boo me? Coming out to interrupt this? Says he thinks he's losing his mind that this has gone on all night. He says, TV time on SmackDown used to mean something. Yeah, tell me about it. Closing an episode meant something. The U.S. Championship meant something. Now it's all just a joke. A couple of weeks ago, Trick said that nobody messes with his money. And Sami asked him, how much money did you spend on this stupid shit? Between all the roses and the casket. He saw the casket earlier. It's solid oak, he said. Solid oak. Like the AEW announce desk. Sami would never do this because he respects himself. He respects this show, and he respects the fans who paid their hard-earned money to sit through this crap. You know what? My attitude is this. At this point, if you're paying to these TKO prices to go see this shit, then you get exactly what you deserve. You can no longer pay for a ticket to a WWE event, however much money it may be, and then complain when you get your usual WWE/TKO slop that they give you on these shows. Like, at this point, there's no excuse. Like, that's on you. That's not on anybody else. That's on you. And if you like it, great. But if you don't like it, that's on you. So Zayn called himself a working class hero who represented his ride or die fans until the very end. So he got into the ring and he says he's done everything in this industry. Guys better than Trick for 2 decades have tried, but they couldn't do it. But that being said, Sami admits that Trick, he got in his head. He got in his head a little bit with this stuff. But he goes, Trick played himself. And now this is personal for Sami. At Backlash, it's not just about the United States Championship. Again, it's personal. But he will take the U.S. title, and then he'll make Trick an even bigger joke. And he goes, sorry for your loss. I'll see you at Backlash. And he made like he was going to go leave, but he took a cheap shot at Trick. He got him down in the corner. He was raining blows down upon him. He was shoving the U.S. title in his face. And then Sami is posing with the title. But they framed this shot in such a way where the open casket with the Gingerbread Man was right behind him. And so you knew that someone was in the costume. Last week it was a mannequin. It was very clear there was nobody in the costume. This time, though, it was very clear that somebody was going to sit up. And sure enough, the Gingerbread Man does the Undertaker zombie sit up in the casket and pulls the head off, and it's Lil Yachty. He was laying in there the entire time. So he gets out of the casket and he blasts Sami from behind with the cane, the candy cane. And Trick gets in position for a trick shot knee, puts down Sami with the knee strike. And the closing parting shot of SmackDown has the United States champion Trick Williams standing tall with Lil Yachty over Sami Zayn, which only makes my prediction that much, in my opinion, that much more likely that Sami Zayn wins the U.S. title back tomorrow night. If it's me, I'm putting that belt back on Sami Zayn tomorrow. I think you have to if you want to keep this story going. I don't think it works. I mean, if they want to blow it off tomorrow, then that's the end of it. But you want to keep this going, you got to put the belt back on Sami. You'll put more heat on him that way, and it gives Trick a reason to continue to chase this guy for at least one more match. That's why I'm picking Sami to win the U.S. title back tomorrow night. But that was the end of this show. I was done with this show. I was done with this show. You know, there's always room for dumb, silly humor in wrestling. But on a show where we already had Danhausen with his cloning machine, yeah, Asuka's very upset about this show. But on a show where you had Danhausen and his cloning machine, we did not need all of the gingerbread stuff for 3 hours. Like, I'm sorry. I'm like, multiple times I'm watching this show, like, what the fuck am I watching here? There's a Backlash show tomorrow. At least Trick and Sami actually have a match on that show. Imagine how much worse it would have been if they weren't even wrestling on Backlash and the entire show was built around this nonsense. It was bad enough as it is. This show somehow gets worse and worse and worse to sit through every single week. It's painful sometimes to sit through these shows. And just this feeling of nothing. Just nothing. I watch some of these shows on Friday. I feel nothing. In some cases, for people who at one point, you know, as focal points on the show, I felt something for. I wanted to see them, or I wanted to see them against this or there was something about it that I wanted to see. Where have we gone with SmackDown? How did we go from where the show was at one time in the last couple of years to where this show is now? How is it that I'll watch Raw on most weeks? And not that Raw is great every single week, but generally speaking, I would say Raw is a pretty good show on the whole most weeks. And how is it that we have a creative team putting together these shows where we have the show we get on Netflix on Mondays, and then we turn around a few days later and get this show on Fridays? How is there so much of a discrepancy between the two? I don't understand it. But we hit the goal. 10 out of 10. That's good. Backlash. 5 matches tomorrow. 2 matches on the ESPN2 first hour. And those matches are going to be Braun Breaker against Seth Rollins, which I believe is going to be won by Braun Breaker. I believe the Trick Williams Sami Zayn US title match is the other match on hour 1. Again, my prediction, Sami Zayn wins back the United States Championship, which I think is a must. If you want to keep this going for a little while longer, Sami's got to win the belt back. Trick loses nothing from losing the belt to Sammy, provided Sammy wins the belt by nefarious means. I'm not advocating Sami Zayn to go in there and just beat him clean with a haluva kick. But I'm going to say we have a new U.S. champion. Io Sky is going to go one-on-one with that woman. Talk about timing. Asuka. When was the last time? Somebody will look this up for me because I don't know the answer. When was the last time that Asuka had, and I'm not counting the Women's Royal Rumble. When was the last time that Asuka had a match on a PLE? And when was the last time Asuka had a singles match on a PLE? Let's see who can find the answer, because I don't even know. It's been a while. And this should have been on the WrestleMania card. We're getting it now. Unfortunately, Kairi Sane is not here to pay the story off in the way that I think many of us were kind of hoping. I think there's still an outside shot. They could work out some sort of deal to get her in as a one-off to at least finish the story. I'm hoping that she does make an appearance tomorrow. But whether she does or she doesn't, it doesn't, to me anyway, change the outcome. I think Io Sky needs to win this. Io has really been marginalized over the last few months. You know, Rhea Ripley went and won the women's championship on SmackDown. She's doing her thing. Io's been doing a whole lot of nothing. She needs this win. And I think she gets it. Danhausen and a mystery partner take on The Miz and Kit Wilson. I think the mystery partner is going to be Jelly Roll, because that's the one that honestly would make the most sense. I'm not saying it's something I want to see. I don't think this fucking match needs to be on this show. But it is. I think Jelly Roll is going to be the partner, and I think Danhausen and Jelly Roll winning. Danhausen and anybody. It doesn't matter who's in that spot. I could be in that spot. It doesn't matter. I think Luis is with us tonight. Luis, you could be in that spot. And Danhausen's team will still win tomorrow night. And then we also have Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship. I can't see Roman dropping the belt. It would be a nice little shocker if he did. I would love to see Jacob Fatu beat Roman Reigns and get a run as the World Heavyweight Champion. You get no argument out of me. Realistically, I can't sit here and tell you I think it's going to happen. Roman's going to win, but I just feel like something has to happen here. Whether it is Royce Keys screwing over Jacob Fatu, he's been very disingenuous with him, let's say, the last few weeks. But the thing with Royce Keys also is Solo Sikoa is tied into this, right? He's the one who's trying to recruit Royce Keys. And it doesn't feel like Royce Keys is interested, but what if he is? Right? So it could play into this in some way. I think the Usos almost, not that they have to, but I feel like the Usos are going to be involved in this in some way. They're going to show their face. They're going to have some sort of involvement. Maybe it's post-match. Maybe it's not even during the match itself. But they have to shoot some sort of angle, I would think. But Roman, I think, is going to retain. And then we have John Cena. Big Body Bear says Asuka's last PLE singles match was when she dropped the Raw Women's title to Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 39. Wow. 3 years ago. That sounds about right. I knew it had been a while since she had a singles match, but I couldn't remember what the match was. John Cena is going to be at Backlash. Apparently he lives in Tampa or nearby, so for him, he'll probably be able to sleep in his own bed tomorrow night. So for him, it's an easy trip. And he retired, of course, back in December. They brought him back to host WrestleMania. And 2 weeks later now, 2.5 weeks later, it's like, hey, John, we want you back again. So he's going to be on the show, and he keeps building this announcement up. Epic, historic. It's going to be a history-making announcement that affects everybody, from the talent to the legends to the fans. It's going to shake the very foundation of WWE. And I'm sure that it is in some way tied into this club WWE membership service that they're about to roll out. They haven't announced what the annual membership fee is going to be. I can only imagine what it's going to be. And I guess he's going to be the face of it. They're going to use him to help promote it. I'm sure it's tied into that in some way. I can't even venture a guess as to what this is. I would, as somebody who has watched enough WWE, they love throwing around these superlatives, right? These big words, epic and game-changing and all this stuff. And more often than not, it lands with a thud. It does not live up to expectations because, again, you start using words like that and people let their imaginations run wild. But they're doing it so much and so blatantly this week that I almost feel like they must have something that they feel is a really big deal. Fuck if I know what it is, but you would think they keep throwing these words out there. All you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot unless you got something really big. So we'll find out together what it's going to be tomorrow night. But every time he does one of these promos or he puts a video up on social media and he's like, oh, this is going to be epic. This is going to be game-changing. This is going to change the landscape. I'm sure Triple H will be sure to tell us that we're in a new era tomorrow night. The era of Club WWE. What kind of perk could they offer for Club WWE that you would consider to be epic? Like it can't just be Club WWE itself, right? They've already announced it. We already know it exists. It has to be something about it. Like what could they possibly offer that you feel would live up to the hype that is surrounding this announcement? And maybe on the flip side of that, what would you like to see? That might be the better question. Let's see what you guys come up with. And I'm going to launch on over into the Super Chats here. Find out what you guys thought of this show tonight. $1 million. Somebody said the archives. So what does that mean? Like as a Club WWE member, you get some sort of special password, restricted access to the full WWE vault. I'll tell you what, I would sign up for Club WWE. You get me to sign up. I don't see how that's necessarily going to be some epic game-changing thing, though, for everybody else. I don't think most people would give a shit about that. Only the nerds and the geeks like you and me. The Sheltered Kid kicking us off here. Solo, I need your honest opinion. Do you think I should give up on WWE? I know that if you didn't have a podcast, you wouldn't watch either. What should I do? I wouldn't watch this show. I didn't say I wouldn't watch any of it. Would I watch SmackDown? Absolutely not. Look, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to do. That's entirely up to you, brother. If you feel like, you are having trouble sitting through the shows and the TV shows are just so awful, you're not deriving any sort of pleasure whatsoever out of them, not even a little bit, then I would say don't bother watching it. If you want to keep up with what's going on, that's why I'm here. That's why a lot of podcasts are here, to keep you up to date on what's going on. They watch so you don't have to. It's hard for some people. They fall out of it, or the product is just so bad and boring that they can't stand watching it, but they want to keep up with what's going on. And so you could check out YouTube clips and stuff, but that's where podcasts become very helpful. Only you can answer that question. Olivia, give us KO versus Punk. No celebrities, just killer promos. Well, KO has to come back first. I think we're all waiting for him to come back. Dry Chicken says, I'm setting the bar real low tonight. I'm watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation over SmackDown tonight. Well, you made the right choice. Bossmo Jackson. WWE should fire John G to put him out. Johnny Gargano. To put him out of his misery. I'm shocked he's still there. I got to be honest with you. I'm shocked. I mean, good for him, but I'm shocked he's still there. They let Kairi Sane go and kept Johnny Gargano. That's incredible to me. When Kairi was in the middle of an actual storyline and Johnny's been laying around comatose on top of equipment crates. I have no good answer for you. Also, he says both AEW and WWE suck on these thumbs down on these shows. Thank you, Bossmo Jackson. Leo says, I wish WWE would start booking Kiana better. I really hope they see her as a future world champion and they don't waste her potential. I feel like they see a big upside in her. So I think she's going to be okay. Shop Dwellers. Do you still think Sammy wins the U.S. title on Saturday? Yes, I do. 100%. I'm sticking to that. Justin with a $9.99. Hey, Solo, has any superstar that has had a solo cover of a pay-per-view ever lost their pay-per-view match? Yes. I vividly remember there being a Royal Rumble poster many years ago that had Santino Marella on there with like a not a magic 8-ball, but some sort of crystal ball. Like he was a fortune teller. I don't remember what Rumble it was, but I could tell you he didn't win. And then there was another pay-per-view I know where R-Truth had a pay-per-view poster that he was on solo, and I'm sure he didn't win that either. So, yeah, I'm sure there's been a lot of them. Temjin Zephyr, hey, Solo, I just got back from theaters watching Mortal Kombat 2, and it was fucking awesome. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Also, will you see Obsession? Heard great things. You know, it's funny. I only heard about Obsession today. They had a trailer for it that actually aired before the movie, and it looked interesting. I don't know. It kind of slipped under the radar for me. I hadn't heard about it until today. Yeah, I I saw the movie earlier and tweeted about it that I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything, but if anybody is on the fence about seeing the new Mortal Kombat movie, because I had a rush to see the first one from 5 years ago, and I saw that on the plane ride into LA for the House of Glory show, and I liked it. I mean, this one was definitely better than the first one, but even the first one, I thought it was, wasn't like great, but I thought it was fine, and I thought this one was better. I enjoyed it. And I'm glad they had the music in there at the very end. That was nice to hear. Dry Chicken says Triple H is going to be cooking like Chef Gordon Ramsay tomorrow night, booking Backlash. It's going to be putting a lot... Yeah, right. It is Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber. From 1 to 1 million. What are the chances of TKO lowering ticket prices? They already are lowering ticket prices a little bit for some of the shows, but it's still a lot. It's still a lot, and now of course these aren't showing. Come on, refresh. Ugh. YouTube is glitching out on me. Typical YouTube. Oh, we got it. All right, we got it back. Fucking YouTube. Where were we? Temjin. Will you go see Resident Evil later this year? Yes, I will. I saw the trailer for it a couple weeks ago, and as soon as I did, I put it on my watch list. I see a lot of people bitching about it because, it's not the real Resident Evil. Where's Leon? Where's Claire? It's not supposed to be the original Resident Evil. It's supposed to be a completely different story set in that world. I like the vibe. I will be seated. Prince Vegeta says what Paul actually meant to say was, yeah, Brock didn't want a job to Gunther in Minneapolis. So this is the option B. Stop the career killer gimmick. It sucks. It does suck. It does suck. It's very limiting too. Groovy Goose. What the Zapruder film to SmackDown's downfall? Are you asking me what is the Zapruder film to SmackDown's downfall? Could wind back that Pat McAfee footage from heading into WrestleMania. We'll show that in slow-mo. Back into the left. Back into the left. The Working Man says, I would rather watch NWO 2000 WCW with Hall, Nash, Jarrett, and a concussed Bret Hart as champion again over this shit. Dorenzo. How does this SmackDown rank in comparison to the worst Raw episode? There's no ranking needed here. We don't have to rank them. We could just judge them on how fucking awful they are or how great they are. It's an awful television show. And it is not worse than the worst Raw episode. I know the one you're thinking of. I did a whole emergency fucking podcast about it. I still think that was worse. DeGoth. After tonight, I need to apologize to Road Dogg. Johnny Burney, the funeral was for the Sixers tonight. Congrats, Knicks. Yeah. The Knicks basically put the Sixers in the dirt tonight. Bye-bye, Philadelphia. Well now, with a $40 drop, WWE is in a race to the bottom against itself and will continue to be rewarded for it. Absolutely insane company. I'll pour one out for all of you when I watch the next Stardom show. I wouldn't be shocked if Kairi, when she's free, ends up popping up on one of those Stardom shows. Now, the Working Man, I wonder what Cena's announcement is tomorrow. Well, we just talked about that. Whatever it is, it better live up to expectations, and it probably won't. But they're really building it up, so they better have something real good planned. It's going to make Cena look bad if it's something lame. Justin with a $9.99. So we all know that there's always someone underneath the ring during matches. Do you think someone was underneath the ring during Brock and Roman's match at SummerSlam? Well, I would hope not, or else, you know, I don't know. They may still be there. Can you imagine the person who would have to lay under the ring during all that? Watching the ring get propped up into the air like that? The heart attack I would have? My God. Paul Hamilton again with the $100 bomb. Yes. Not the effect I was going for, but we'll take it. On behalf of all your supporters, for all your pain and suffering, Sir Portland Popstar. Yes. Paul is the man. Paul, I hope you're doing well. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the shout. Looking out, always looking out for me. He's always worried about me. Venom Kitetsu with a $25 Brie mode. Is it unreasonable to worry that we could be seeing a slow burn towards TKO pushing wrestlers out and bringing in celebrities and influencers as their primary competitors going forward? Feels like they would rather have that. To replace them, no. But I don't get the sense that they plan on stopping that anytime soon. I think they love it. I think we're going to continue to get more of it, whether it's WrestleMania season or not. Man, I don't see them turning away from it because they love all the extra eyeballs that they feel like those people bring because they have these huge social followings. Like, IShowSpeed was completely inoffensive. I didn't mind him being involved. But IShowSpeed has like tens and tens and tens of millions of subscribers, you know, between his various social media platforms. So like when he did his dive at WrestleMania, I'm sure that the impressions and the views that it got was in the hundreds of millions. They eat that shit up. They love that. They're not going to stop that. Even if it has a negative impact on the creative, right? Which that really didn't. But like the McAfee stuff, they don't give a shit. They don't care. If it gets engagement, that's all they care about. Derek J. speaks. After 7 years working a job I grew to hate, today was my last day. I start a new job at a university on Monday. Just wanted to thank you, Solo, for your shows getting me through it all. Well, congrats, Derek. That's very cool. Best of luck in the new job. I may be looking for a new job if these SmackDown shows don't improve soon. Anybody want to hire me? Alexander says Ciampa was let go in January. Gargano has been laying on that fucking crate for 4 months. Easy money. Easy money. Just collect that paycheck until the end. Because he's on the fast track to nowhere. Retro KOH, someone ask Heyman what inning of the Bloodline story we are in. I'm going to guess we're probably in between the 5th and 6th. Probably somewhere in there. Dan Richards, I had an appendectomy on Wednesday, and it was less painful than watching this show. I think the new intern, Mince McMahon, is writing the show. That guy Mince, he was a little weird, that one. There was something off about that guy. I heard about that Mince guy. Always putting in his ideas. I hear Mince doesn't like it when people sneeze around him, too. He's a little suspect, this guy. You know, I think the appendectomy, you could have that done laparoscopically, right? So there shouldn't be any pain. I haven't had an appendectomy, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But Prince Vegeta says, I watched Backlash 07 the other day, and I really liked the Batista-Undertaker feud that happened that year. Just two badasses battling for dominance. Their WrestleMania match is a classic. Thoughts on the feud? I like the WrestleMania match. I don't remember too much else other than they had that cage match on SmackDown. But, yeah, I mean, I remember the Mania match and some of the build-up to it. Beyond that, though, I don't remember them. I mean, I don't remember too much else about what they did. Alex with the 5. Why the fuck are The Miz, Kit Wilson, and Danhausen on the Backlash card? What did they do at WrestleMania? It literally voids the whole Backlash gimmick. Yes. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I wish I had a better answer for you. I really don't. They like Danhausen. They really like Danhausen. They want to get him on the show. Bret Hart. It's sad seeing WWE now. It's like watching an old friend being skinned in front of you by a serial killer, and then the killer puts the skin on. Wow, I wasn't prepared for this super chat. Let me start over again here. Holy shit, this went to a very dark place. It's sad seeing WWE now. It's like watching an old friend being skinned in front of you by a serial killer, and then the killer puts the skin on alongside a bunch of corporate logos and asks you for money. Jesus. My God. This is some Leatherface type shit. I'm just gonna let that one kind of breathe for a little bit. And I'm just gonna move on. Arabian Night. Yeah, so someone check on Bret Hart there. Arabian Night says, listen to Killer Cross's interview on Devon's podcast talking about creative process, TKO when it comes to pay structure and finances. Very insightful. I may have to check that out. Lost Dill. Need Joe Hendry as Danhausen's partner at Backlash. No, that would be awful. That would be a terrible reveal. Alex says, just 3 years ago, Priest had one of the best matches of 2023 with Bad Bunny. Just pathetic booking from WWE. Yeah, I mean, the fall off is just unbelievable. From where he had been to where he is now. It's sad. Z-Ray says, I'm just surprised they actually let Talla Tonga speak for once. Yes, he actually spoke some words tonight. It was very brief in that backstage segment with Nakamura, but he did speak. We have Henry Elf. I'm sorry. Henry F. Jeez. I thought it said Elf. Yeah, so I think it's time I go back to watching Just Stardom. We'll stick around for your shows, though. Love from Long Island. Well, thank you, Henry. Sorry I called you an elf. Devin from NJ2000. Buy or sell? Oh, Z-Ray. I forgot Z-Ray. I'll get to Z-Ray in a second. Buy or sell from Devin says wrestling, weddings, or funerals? I am quite partial to the Big Show and the Boss Man when they were having the funeral for Big Show's father, and Boss Man drove in the old Blues Brothers car with the big megaphone and interrupted the proceedings, attached a chain to the casket and dragged it away. I think for that alone, I may have to go with funerals, but not include the Gingerbread Man funeral. And Z-Ray says, honestly, I just wanted to hear a Kairi in case Kairi doesn't show up tomorrow. Well, you heard two of them so far tonight, so there you go. It's the only place you're going to hear them from now on is on these streams. Death Scythe. I have a song recommendation that's on YouTube. Hopefully it makes everyone feel better. His World from Sonic 06. Synthwave cover by Severed Soul. Interesting. I'm going to cut and paste that and keep that over here. I will check that out after. I love me some synthwave, so let's refresh the list here. I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, here we go. We have Tonga Loa Superfan is with us. I know Tonga Loa is still in mourning. Poor Tonga Loa Superfan. Says, this is the first SmackDown in the post-Tonga Loa era. It just isn't the same without Tonga Loa. Tonga Loa was the beating heart of the show. And now what are we left with? What are we left with? We're left with AI Gingerbread Men. That's what we're left with. I miss Tonga Loa too. Bobby Means. I think Blake Monroe against Rhea Ripley could be a possible SummerSlam match. Do you see it that way? Plus, I think the announcement is Mania 44 is going to the UK. You know what though? No, it can't be. The way they're building it up, they're talking about this like it's this epic game-changing thing. Announcing the WrestleMania location doesn't really fit. So I don't see that being the announcement tomorrow. I think that would be, I mean, the UK fans would love it, but in terms of what they're promoting and how they're promoting it, I think that'd be a letdown. Clay V Man 07. My dog wanted me to hold him like a baby. And he's watching me intently on the big screen TV, then fell asleep. I am now trapped. Send food. Maybe I'll send you some Gingerbread Men. EJ Slamp, if someone went 9-0 in the G1 and won the final for a perfect 10-0, would that be New Japan's version of Undertaker's WrestleMania streak? Will it ever happen? I mean, so wait, are you talking about someone went 9-0 in the G1 and won the final for? So you're talking in one particular G1 tournament? Like, no. Undertaker's streak was over the course of 10 years. If you're talking about his first 10 wins. If you're talking about the entire WrestleMania streak, you're talking 20 years. The two things are not even remotely similar. And will it ever happen? No, I'm going to say no. Cameo Johnson with a 1999. Thank you, Cameo. Making a cameo here tonight. Keep your head up, Solo. The strength to keep watching these shows. You fight the battles that we can't. I don't know what keeps you going with WWE, but you are deeply appreciated. Salute from Chicago. P.S. Mortal Kombat 2 was fire. Yeah, I love the choice of Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. I know some people panned it. They thought he was too old, or they didn't like that he was the aging Hollywood star, which is basically what he portrays in the movie. I've heard Miz in multiple interviews like venting about not being picked to be Johnny Cage, like he's some great like master thespian. Like, no, dude. There's a reason why he didn't get the role. But the stuff there's some funny scenes with him and Kano in the movie that I think people will enjoy. And Alex says, I know you have mentioned that it was Hogan that made you become a wrestling fan. How much of an impact did Vince have for your love of wrestling? Did Vince have? Well, Hogan was a character on his show, so it was his product. So, I mean, it goes without saying. But he's not the one I saw on television outside of holding a mic in his hand. You know, in terms of what kept me watching the television show, it was Hogan. It was the red and yellow. It was the Macho Man. But yes, of course, it was his product. On camera, though, he was just the announce guy. Funny enough, though, I always envisioned myself being Vince. I had Vince's, I think I still have it, his LJN. I made sure I got Vince. I got Mean Gene Okerlund. I was always going to be the announcer guy. Back when you were actually allowed to be an announcer back then. Instead of just being like, and my guest at this time. And now my guest at this time. That's always funny. Oh, we got a few more here. Oh, we had a whole bunch more. I switched away too fast. We'll go through these, and then we got 2 rounds of Be the Booker coming up. Hey, Carlos, congrats on 53 months. Look at you. Look at you. 53 months of channel membership. EJ says, rewatch Teddy Long's 2007 wedding segment today. One of the first episodes I ever saw. No business being that entertaining. Better than this bullshit. Was that the one where Vince was... Vince and Coach, I think, were sitting among the attendees, and Hornswoggle was there, and Hornswoggle kept fucking around with Coach, and Vince just kind of looked over like, stop it. And because that was actually kind of funny. I think that might have been the Teddy Long wedding. Don Stoney, cheers, my friend. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate that. Alex says, you think it's time for the Big Show to go to the Hall of Fame? No, because he's under contract to AEW. Why would WWE put him in the Hall of Fame? Big Show and Jericho and people like that are not going into the Hall of Fame until they're out of AEW. It's just that simple. EJ says, I read Harley Race today, slammed Andre twice in 1978 and 79, nearly a decade before Hogan. Is that true? If so, Harley was even more badass. Well, I'm going to blow your mind now by telling you that the narrative that Hogan was the first person to body slam Andre is bullshit. It's total horseshit. As was the story of Andre being undefeated for 15 years heading into WrestleMania 3. Total bullshit. It was all just in service of hyping the match, which was fine. Yeah, as the promoter, you have creative license to do that. You couldn't get away with that shit today because it's just so easily verifiable. Harley was not the only one to body slam Andre, though. Multiple people body slammed Andre the Giant, including Kamala. I think to this day, the person who impressed me the most with their body slam of Andre was Kamala, because he got him up. It's like he got him up and held him there, and then slammed him. I didn't see all the Harley slams, but the Kamala one that I saw, to me, was the most impressive. Tonga Loa Superfan with a 10 spot says, thinking back, we only got a small glimpse of what Tonga Loa could do in WWE. Now that he's free, we can finally get the full Tonga Loa experience. Don't you want to see him go full Tonga Loa? Well, I mean, if he's going to go full Tonga Loa, there's only one place for him to do that. That would be HOG. So, but then you have to promise to come out to the show. If we have him in House of Glory, then we have to have you out to the show. You have to buy a ticket and come to the show. We have, again, Tonga Loa Superfan. Look at this guy, $20 super chat. We have things in wrestling named after wrestlers like Gorilla Position, Gorilla Position, or Dusty Finish. I think Tonga Loa deserves the same. Maybe when a wrestler does something unscripted, we can refer to that as he just pulled a Tonga Loa. Well, I'll tell you what. In tribute to the last appearance that he made on SmackDown, where he fell off the announce desk, maybe the next time whenever someone falls off the announce desk, we can say, oh, he pulled a Tonga Loa. How about that? And that could be kind of his thing. I agree. I think that'd be a great idea. So the likes goal tonight, I believe, was 450. And we are bordering on 700. We're getting close. So we destroyed that goal and then hit the bonus goal. So we got 2 rounds coming our way. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to
be I'm going to have to add this Gingerbread Man to be the booker now. He's now officially part of SmackDown lore. May have to throw him in here. That's right. He got lowered. Tonga lowered. All right, here we go. What a visual this is. This is a cursed image. Not only Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg as tag team champions, but a smiling Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg. What would their tag team name be? Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg against the American Wolves, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. Can't wait until Goldberg goes for the tag and then Brett just drops off the apron. Says, fuck Bill Goldberg, and walks to the back. And then Goldberg just fucking destroys these two all by himself and wins the match anyway. Our women's Be the Booker. The Sharpshooters. Nah, that's... We could do better than that. It's Paige. Well, technically Saraya in this image, but it's Paige. Now that she's back in WWE, we can get her a singles match here. Paige against... Hey, look, this could be a SmackDown match. This is a match that could actually be booked. Paige and Julia. Look at this woman. You mean to tell me you can't find a fucking thing for her to do? Ridiculous. In the main event. Main event number 1. We have Claudio Castagnoli, former Ring of Honor World Champion, former CMLL Champion, Claudio Castagnoli. In our main event. Against Jacob Fatu. He's in the main event of Backlash tomorrow night. He's in the main event of Be the Booker tonight. Claudio and Jacob Fatu. See that right there? We just booked ourselves a solid-ass card. Steve Austin has some solid-ass cats. We just booked a solid-ass card. That's a bang. That's a banger, all right. You're damn right it is. That was a good show right there. Let's not make any mistakes now. We don't want to fuck it up. Because we got 1 round left to go. We have stipulations to choose. No. Eye for an eye. Can't do a tag match, so we have to do either the women or the men. I'd rather do the women. What do you think we should do? Yeah, we'll do the men. Eye for an eye. Didn't we just pick eye for an eye? We had eye for an eye like last week. I don't know. What? Why is it always the eyes? I don't know. Karrion Kross. See, somebody just mentioned him before in the super chat. Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross may lose an eye here. Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, I mean, unfortunately for poor Karrion Kross, why is he in 2 main events in the span of a week? This is the second time we've landed on the Giant Gonzalez. He wrestled John Cena. Now he wrestles Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross cannot reach up high enough to gouge the eyes out of this man's head. So Karrion Kross is going to lose an eye. All right, let's do something a little bit different here. I actually have to add this as a stip. I still haven't added it yet, but brawl. Okay, so we have a brawl for all match. What I was gonna say is I was gonna make it. Someone mentioned intergender. We could do an intergender match. We're gonna do an intergender brawl for all match. This just has disaster written all over it here. But we're gonna do something a little bit different here. First ever here in Be the Booker, intergender brawl for all. Rhea Ripley Actually, considering some of the women that are in Be the Booker, I think she might actually fare better than most in a Brawl for All match. But now we have to figure out who the opponent is going to be. Rhea Ripley in a Brawl for All match. Against Kane. Rhea Ripley and Kane in a Brawl for All match. I don't know, man. If we're talking about this guy right here, this OG Kane, Rhea don't stand a chance. yeah, Rhea is fucked. Rhea is fucked. And we're going to end with a Yappa Pie strap match. Oh, boy.
Oh, you got me, brother.
You got me in the Yappa Pie strap match. If you want to know what the hell is a Yappa Pie, it's actually Yabba Pie, but everyone calls it Yappa Pie, so it just sounds funnier that way. But I think it's Yabba Pie with a V. If you want to know what it is, it was a match with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair in the dying days of WCW. Sometime in 2000, I don't remember what pay-per-view it was. Yeah, you know what? This is actually a rather appropriate stipulation to land on tonight. All I know is that Hogan in his promos was going on and on about the strapation, and that's where I tuned out. I don't need to be hearing about Hulk Hogan and strapation. Someone is getting some strapation, though, from Hulk Hogan in this Yappa Pie strap match. We're not even doing a tag match. We're just going to go right to the main event here. Darby Allin. Okay, well, this sounds right up his alley, right? You get some weapons involved. Uncensored 2000. Strapomaniacs. Royce Keys and Darby Allin in a Yappa Pie strap match. Poor Darby. This sounds like a bad night at the office for Darby Allin. Yes, for the AEW title. Everyone's getting a title shot, so Royce Keys will get another one now. He's going to get an AEW championship match with Darby Allin. Yappa Pie strap style. There you go. Basically an AEW main event. But, hey, we almost had another clean sweep were it not for the Giant Gonzalez screwing it all up. I know Jorge was a nice guy, but I'm sorry. You can't expect me to give that the bell. That's not how this works. New AEW World Champion, Powerhouse Hobbs. Was Cena and Gonzalez Monday or Wednesday? That's cute. You think we did Be the Booker on Wednesday? That's adorable. Z-Ray. The real question is, when is the New Day going to show up in HOG? Oh, I think that would be a great day. That would be a great day. Well, first of all, they're not available until the summer. So let's see what happens. Would be very interesting, though, wouldn't it? EJ Slemp, CM Punk in a suit, Jeff Hardy dancing, Jagged Edge performing, Godfather showing up, Tori as a bridesmaid. That Teddy Long wedding was amazing. And Power Spying Game Solo, you did give Gonzalez versus Hollywood Rock a bell. Yeah, because it's Hollywood Rock, dude. Like, Hollywood Rock would find a way to make that entertaining. I can't bet against anything Hollywood Rock would do. Like Hollywood Rock was peak. We didn't get enough of it. Oh man. Amazing. Well, as I was watching SmackDown tonight, I realized that we were going to end up having a lot more fun here on the stream than we were going to have watching SmackDown. So for most of us anyway, I'm sure there's going to be some people who love SmackDown tonight. But for the rest of us, hopefully you guys had a good time. We got through it. Show's over. The new SmackDown next week. No more Gingerbread Man. We got Backlash tomorrow night. Tomorrow, Backlash is a 6 p.m. Eastern start. My guess would be I'll be live probably no later than 10:30. At 10:30, somewhere in that range. I will be live right back here on YouTube for this thing right here. This is the Backlash review. We're going to get John Cena's epic announcement. Look at him. He looks like a car salesman in this image. This is corporate Cena. He's like the new Tony Khan. He's got a major announcement to make. He's stolen Tony Khan's gimmick. Anyway, that's tomorrow night. Back here live on YouTube. And then, of course, Sunday will be episode 962 of the Solomonster Sounds Off. All the Backlash fallout. We'll talk Ted Turner. We'll talk Dark Side of the Ring coming back. We got some legal stories to talk about. Rajah Jackson. Alberto Del Dipshit. It's going to be a good time on Sunday. Hopefully you guys will join for the podcast. Until then, be well. Stay safe. Yes, he looks like he's gonna sell 7 Toyotas. Every time a Toyota commercial is not Toyota, it's a Honda. Every time a Honda commercial comes on, I hear the voice in the background. I go, I know that voice. I hear that voice in my head. Be well, stay safe. I'll see you back here in less than 24 hours for the Backlash review. Let's hope we get a better night than the one we had tonight. Until then, take care, guys.